Okay, this one. Maybe this. This and this. Okay. So thank you for the opportunity to present the Belgian experience. Just as an introduction, a map with an overview of the situation in Europe, and you can see Belgium. It's a small country, of course, between 4 countries, Germany, France, Netherlands, and Luxembourg, free of African swine fever. And in Belgium, an important point is that the pig industry are mainly in the north of the country, in Flanders, and the majority of the forest and the wild boar are in the south. So the outbreak was detected in September 2018 in the south of Belgium, southeast of Wallonia, and clearly it's a focal introduction of the virus and very far away from the nearest infected areas, as told by my colleagues. It was in Republic Czech at this period. So clearly it's not a natural movement of wild boar, and human activities are suspected. Maybe it's live or infected wild boars imported for hunting purpose, or contaminate meats. I don't know. For the moment, we don't know the origin of the outbreak, and there is a judicial investigation ongoing. Before to speak about the strategy, just a table with the management organization. Belgium is a federal state, so the federal level is responsible for domestic animal health, and the regional level, Wallonia or Flanders, are responsible for wildlife health and all the activities in the forest. The main organ for decision is the strategic board, including our CVO, scientists, experts from the federal and the regional levels, and our CVO is in contact with the European Commission for decision, and the ASF Crisis Board is validating the decision of the strategic board in agreement with the regional minister. Of course, the main goal is the eradication of the disease in Belgium, with 2 points: prevent the introduction of the disease in pig farms by enhancing biosecurity in pig industry, but also to prevent the spread of the disease among wide population. And for this objective, we have 5 control measures in wild boar. And the first one is the zoning and restriction, of course. Immediately at the beginning of the outbreak, a provisional infected zones were decided. And in this zone, there were restriction measures immediately to respect a complete standstill in this zone. And the objective was to avoid disturbing wild boar and clearly to decrease the risk of spreading. So it's like this zone was like in an hermetic box, and there was a regional legislation with ban on feeding wild boar in the whole zone, ban on hunting clearly at this period, and a total ban on circulation in the forest for tourists, but also for lodging activities. There was only one activity allowed. It was, of course, the active search and removal of carcass. So that's the map with the first zoning restriction. And in November 2018, this provisional infected zone was adapted and replaced by 2 European zones, the zone 2, the infected one, and the zone 1 or part 1 in the periphery, like the buffer zone. And this zone were adapted according to the the detection of new positive cases. It's the actual map with the European zoning, the zone 2 here, infected zone, and in the periphery part or zone 1, the buffer zone. The total area of the two zones are 1,106 square kilometers. And in parallel with this European zoning, we have in Belgium a regional management zones with an infected zone and two periphery, an observation zone and a vigilance zone in the periphery. And this management zoning is more easy to work in the zone with the hunters, with the forest rangers. So it's not mandatory, but it's just to facilitate the action in field condition. The second point important for the measure is, of course, the active carcass search and removal. It's a very, very time-consuming activities under the responsibility of the administration, and up to now, 40,000 hours of active search have been implemented since the beginning of the outbreak. It's of course important to decrease the viral load in the environment. As told by my colleague, we know the high resistance of the virus in the carcass, mainly in winter, so we have to remove each carcass detected in the forest. But it's also important when you find this kind of carcass to make the analysis and to delimit the real infected zone, and also to follow the epidemic phase during the outbreak. The search is realized by the administration, and the packaging, disinfection, and transport are realized by a specific team from the civil protection. The third system to avoid the spreading of the disease is, of course, the network of fencing. And in Belgium, it's an important point. You can see on this map, all the red line are fences, and the brown line here is the highway. So we have a lot of fences, approximately 300 kilometers since the beginning of the outbreak. And it's important, France is here. It's important to say that our fences are connected with the French and the Luxembourg fences. So clearly the fences are, the objective is to slow the progression of the disease, but it's also to prepare like corridors to manage the destruction. It's more easy to manage the destruction in little park like this than in a big surface. So I think it's the objective of the fences. It's a break for the disease. It's not a complete hermetic barrier, and a daily check is very, very important. And the fourth measure, of course, along the fences is the depopulation, and we have a specific legislation with an objective is the depopulation on the whole area, zone 2 and zone 1 European, with specific restriction according the zone, but also the timing. So at the beginning of the outbreak, during the epidemic phase, of course, it was important to kill the wild boar in the area surrounding the infected zone, and it was forbidden to kill the wild boar in the infected zone, because it was important, as I told you, to keep this zone in a calm situation. And now we are in the post-epidemic phase, and at this point it's very important to act in the infected zone to avoid endemic evolution. So now we destruct also the last wild boar in this zone, in the infected area, And approximately, we estimate the population now approximately 120 wild boars, according camera traps and according information from the forest rangers. So it's, of course, a hard job for the moment. It's the map for the depopulation. It's a combination of different tools. It's very important: culling, trapping, night shooting. And in the infected zone, the depopulation is under the responsibility of the administration. And in the periphery, we try to work with the hunters to depopulate. And there is also a specific legislation to underline this activity of depopulation. You can see here the night shooters. It's only under the responsibility of the administration, and up to now more than 500 night shots have been realized in Zone 2 and Zone 1. It's a very effective tool for the moment to kill the last wild boar in the infected zone without intensive hunting. A second important tool is the network of traps. We have approximately 160 traps in the infected zone, but also in the periphery. And up to now, 1,200 wild boar were trapped. And on this map, each brown dot is a trap with the number of wild boar trapped in this trap. So it's an important tool, mainly in the periphery. And if you consider the result of the depopulation per zone, maybe it's interesting on this table. If you compare the situation before and after the outbreak per zone, you can see that in the infected zone, before the outbreak, the hunters killed a number of wild boar per square kilometers of forest, and you can see that after the outbreak, clearly there was an increase of 200%. So in the infected zone, the virus has killed 2 times more than the hunters before the outbreak. So that's a good news. And in the periphery, in the observation zone and the vigilance zones, you can see that the increase, if you compare before and after the outbreak, there is also an increase of destruction due to night shooting, culling, trapping, etc. Now concerning the analysis process, when the carcass are detected in the forest or when the wild boar are killed, they are transported by the civil protection in collection centers. We have 3 collection centers in the zone, and the principal one is the collection center of Virton in the infected zone. You see the place for the vet where the samples are carried out. The wild boar, the carcass, are unloaded here, and we have 2 containers: a container for like a fridge and a lab container. Each carcass is included in only 1 plastic bag. We have a lot of biosecurity procedure to sample. The targeted organ for qPCR analysis is the spleen, but sometimes we take also kidney or tonsil or some lymph nodes. And when the carcass are old, we take bones. Of course, is it possible to make qPCR analysis on bones? All the processing is realized in the center of Virton, and the samples, the organ are transported to the reference laboratory in Brussels, and we have rapidly the results. And the carcass and offals are transported directly to the rendering plants, and we have a specific truck only for this activity, for transport of wild boar in the infected zone. All the results are gathered in the wild boar database with a lot of information for each wild boar, and the communication is realized with the authorities, with the European authorities through the federal agency and the ADNS, of course. Just a few words concerning the biosecurity. Since the beginning of the outbreak, we organized some formation, some training for the hunters to explain how is the resistance of the virus, how to pack a wild boar after culling, and the hunters are obliged to make this kind of pack in the periphery, and they receive incentives for approved hunters who have received specific training on biosecurity procedure. So it's here you can see some hunters with a pack including a wild boar. Yes, around outside the infected zone, outside the part 2 and part 1, there is also, of course, passive surveillance, and we have a regional hotline for carcass notification. And I have a team of vets to make the sampling in field condition with respect to biosecurity procedure. Each green dot is a wild boar, is a found dead wild boar analyzed and negative. Now, I have just a summary for the result. Maybe an important point, until now there is no cases among domestic pig in Belgium, and at the beginning of the outbreak here in the south of Belgium, we organized by prevention a slaughter, and more than 5,000 pigs were killed here in the south of Belgium. So there is no more pigs in this zone since the beginning of the outbreak. There's a snapshot of the map with all the positive and negative cases since the beginning of the outbreak. Just I would like to underline here there is a fence here. You can see here, and you can see clearly the efficiency of this fence in this zone. That's another map with only the result of this last month. Only one old bones positive in the infected zone. And we have a global view on this histogram with the weekly evolution of the positive case since the beginning of the outbreak in September 2018 until now, mid of April. You have in blue the number of positive cases founded, and in red the number of positive cases culled. And you can see, for example, in February 2019, some weeks we detected more than 80 carcass in the positive carcass in the forest. So that's a clue. The last fresh positive case is from August 2019, and since this period we have only detected 1 to 6 old bones positive in the infected zone. So clearly I think that we maintain the infection in the infected zone, and the last positive case was in August 2019. So as a conclusion, up to now we have analyzed more than 5,000 samples, and we have 833 positive cases, all from the infected zone. And since March 2019, There is no case outside infected zone except an old bone in December. And we think that that's the combination of different measures, different control strategies, which are very effective to maintain the virus inside the infected zone. We continue active search of carcass and depopulation, clearly, and clearly also night shooting are very strategic for the moment to work in the infected area. And we hope that it will be possible to continue, and regional and federal authorities are determined to keep pressure on all actors to eradicate the virus. And it's important to stimulate the hunters in the periphery of the infected zone to maintain the goal. So thank you for your attention.